This video should help you with steps 1 and 6 by comparing stocks, options, spreads, and futures. First, let's talk about the statistical chances of profiting. First, with stocks. You have a 50-50 chance because the stock can only go up or down. With buying options, you actually have a 1 in 3 chance of profiting. You will likely only profit if the stock goes in your direction, and you will likely take a loss if the stock goes sideways or against you because of the negative theta. Now, with credit spreads, you're on the other side of the options trade with a 2 in 3 chance of profiting. You will likely profit if the stock goes in your favor or if it goes sideways. And sometimes you'll even make a profit if it goes slightly against you. This is because you are collecting premium with the positive theta. Lastly, futures. You have the same chances of profiting as stocks because it can only go up or down, so you have that 50-50 chance. Next, let's talk about buying power or capital required. Stocks typically will take the most buying power, especially with the mid to large caps. The small caps can be somewhat equivalent to the buying power of options, which are a lot more leveraged. Buying options is typically pretty cheap, but option spreads are usually the cheapest option, depending on which spread you are doing. Now, futures are a little overlooked. They are actually very leveraged, and the amount of buying power doesn't move based off the price of the future, but on the volatility of the futures contract. They are actually one of the more affordable type of trades. The PDT rule, or the pattern day trade rule, is often a concern among many traders, especially with those small accounts. So with stocks, the PDT rule is a problem if your account is under 25,000. And if you use a cash account, it will take another couple days before the cash settles. And you have to wait for it to settle before you can use that cash again. However, there are many brokers trying to fix this to be a next day settlement, which is how options are. They have the same rules as stocks, except the cash will settle overnight, so you're able to use that same cash the next day. Spreads are the exact same way as just buying options, but people typically will swing spreads, so the pattern day trade rule won't be an issue. Lastly, futures. If I was personally struggling with the PDT rule and I wanted to day trade or scalp trade, I would trade futures. This is because they are heavily leveraged like options, but they don't have the PDT rule and they don't have time decay at all. You can day trade them all you want as long as you have enough in your account to trade them, which with brokers such as Tradovate, it takes as little as $50 to trade them. The last thing I want to compare is the amount of knowledge or practice that you need to trade these. Stocks take the least amount of education. They're pretty straightforward. All you really need to know is the ticker. Whereas buying options, you need to be a little more educated. You need to know the differences of the different strikes and expiration dates and how it affects the options contract that you're trading. Once you understand options, it's a small step above that to learn option spreads. So spreads, I would say you would need the most education and practice before trading them correctly. Lastly, futures are somewhere in the middle. They're not quite as confusing as options, but a little more confusing than a straight up stock. This is mostly because their tickers are a little funky, and each time the futures ticks is a little different than just a penny or a dollar move. Now, options, futures, and stocks can all work together to help you understand the markets as a whole. If you understand how stocks move and are good at trading stocks, you could understand some other ways to trade stocks using options or option spreads. And if you understand stock indexes like the S&P 500 or SPY and the NASDAQ or the QQQ, then you can get a good start with trading futures. such as ES, which is SPY, or the NQ, which is the QQQ. So understanding the futures can really help you understand the internals of things, even in other sectors like oil or precious metals. In conclusion, there are reasons to trade stocks. There's reasons to trade options or futures. It all comes down to what your style of trading is. Maybe the heavier leverage stuff that requires a little more knowledge might overwhelm you. So maybe you should just start with trading stocks and then growing from there. Hopefully that helps you decide what you want to trade, and I'll see you in the next video.